The grand hall of the Celestara station shone with crystal light and floating banners. Delegates from dozens of star systems filled the wide chamber. Every species wore symbols of rank, color, and pride. This was where alliances were formed, broken, or tested. At the center stood Princess Lyra of Verelion, only 19 cycles old. By her people's standards, she was young, brilliant, and already famous. She had been raised inside palaces, taught that her bloodline was ancient and pure. She believed strength came from advanced technology, noble heritage, and absolute control. Today was her first public appearance as a royal representative. Standing a short distance behind her was a single human. His name was Ethan Hale. He wore a plain, dark uniform with no medals on display, no bright colors, no ceremonial blade, no royal guard markings, just a small alliance crest on his chest and calm eyes that observed everything without judgment. To most in the hall, he looked unimportant. Lyra noticed him the moment she entered. She frowned. "Why is that one so close to me?" she asked quietly, her voice sharp with irritation. Her advisor, Elder Soren, leaned closer. "Princess, he is assigned as your escort during alliance proceedings." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "A human?" "Yes." She looked Ethan up and down openly, without shame. His posture was relaxed, almost casual. He did not bow deeply. He did not avoid her gaze. He simply stood, hands behind his back, waiting. That irritated her even more. The ceremony began. Speeches echoed through the hall, words about unity, peace, shared futures. Lyra listened with practiced patience, though she found most of it dull. Her attention kept drifting back to the human behind her. When her turn came to speak, she stepped forward, confidence flowing through her voice. "The Verelion Empire welcomes cooperation," she said. "We value strength, discipline, and clear hierarchy. We believe alliances must be built on proven superiority." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Lyra continued, her eyes briefly flicking toward Ethan. "Not all species contribute equally. Some offer wisdom, some offer power, and some—" she paused, lips curving slightly, "offer numbers." A few delegates shifted uncomfortably. Ethan did not move. Encouraged by the silence, Lyra went further. "I am curious," she said aloud now, turning slightly so everyone could see who she was looking at. "Why the Alliance assigned a human with no visible rank to stand beside royalty? Is this some kind of joke?" The hall went still. All eyes turned to Ethan. He felt the weight of thousands of stares, but his face remained calm. He did not speak. He did not defend himself. He did not react. Lyra tilted her head, amused. Does he not speak? Or is he trained only to follow? A few nervous laughs echoed through the chamber. Elder Soren stiffened. "Princess," but Lyra raised a hand, silencing him. "I expected a guardian," she said. "Not this." She gestured vaguely at Ethan, dismissive and careless. Ethan finally looked directly at her. His eyes were steady, not angry, not offended, just clear. For a moment, something about that gaze made Lyra uneasy. It was not submission. It was not fear. It was understanding. Then Ethan moved. Slowly, deliberately, he reached up and unclipped the small Alliance crest from his uniform. The metal made a soft sound as it came free. No one spoke. He held it for a moment, then placed it gently on the floor at the princess's feet. Without a word, without a bow, without a glance back, he turned and walked away. His boots echoed across the polished floor as he passed between stunned delegates. Guards instinctively moved aside. No one stopped him. No one dared. The massive doors at the end of the hall opened, sensing his approach, and closed again behind him. Silence crushed the chamber. Lyra stared at the spot where he had been. Her chest felt tight, though she did not know why. "That was strange," she said, forcing a light tone. Humans are known for emotional displays. Perhaps he was embarrassed. Elder Soren's face had gone pale. "Princess," he whispered urgently. "Do you know who just left?" She frowned. "An escort, nothing more." "That was not an escort," Soren said. That was a human boundary warden. The words meant nothing to her. Seeing her confusion, Soren continued, voice low and tense. Humans do not place their warriors in courts. They place them at borders. When one stands beside you, it means humanity has chosen restraint. Lyra scoffed. Restraint from what? Soren's eyes flicked to the hall's tactical displays as several screens quietly dimmed. From themselves. As if on cue, alerts flashed across the chamber. Trade corridors marked in blue shifted to gray. Human fleet icons began moving away. A delegate from the Trask Union stood abruptly. Our supply convoys just lost human clearance. Another voice called out, pirate signals detected near neutral space. Lyra's confidence wavered. What is happening? Soren's hands trembled slightly. When a human walks away without a word, it is not an insult response. It is a warning. Lyra's heart began to race. But I did nothing wrong, she said. I only spoke the truth. Only spoke the truth. Soren's gaze hardened. You spoke from pride. Humans do not respond to pride. They respond to choice. Across the station, subtle changes unfolded. Human security teams quietly boarded their ships. Defense grids, once maintained by human engineers, shifted to standby. Long-standing threat suppression protocols deactivated, not aggressively, simply withdrawn. Lyra looked again at the crest on the floor. For the first time, she noticed how worn it was. Scratched, dented, used, not decorative, earned. A junior officer rushed in, panic clear in his voice. Elder! A border colony near the Varelian trade lane is under probe. Unknown vessels. Lyra swallowed. That has never happened before. No, Soren replied softly. Because humans were watching. The princess felt a cold weight settle in her chest. The hall that once felt grand, now felt exposed. Bring him back, she said quickly. This misunderstanding. Soren shook his head. Humans do not return when summoned. They return when respect is restored. Lyra clenched her fists. For the first time in her life, her title meant nothing. Far from the Celestara station, Ethan Hale stood alone on an observation deck, stars stretching endlessly before him. He did not feel anger, only resolve. He had given the galaxy a choice, and now, it would learn what silence truly meant. Celestara station no longer felt like the heart of the galaxy. It felt fragile. In the hours after the human left, the station's smooth rhythm began to break. Lights dimmed in non-essential sectors. Docking schedules changed without warning. Ships once protected by human patrol routes now waited in silence, unsure if they were still safe. Princess Lyra stood in her private chamber, staring at the wide window that showed the stars beyond. Normally, the view gave her comfort. Today, it only reminded her how small the station truly was. Behind her, Elder Soren reviewed incoming reports. Each one made his expression darker. Human fleets have fully withdrawn from 3 shared corridors, he said. They did not issue threats. They did not protest. They simply left. Lyra crossed her arms. They cannot abandon an alliance so easily. Soren looked at her carefully. They can, and they just did. She turned sharply. Because of a few words? Because of meaning, Soren replied. To humans, words reveal intent. Lyra said nothing. She did not like the feeling growing inside her chest. It was unfamiliar. Uncomfortable. Doubt. Across the station, the effects became impossible to ignore. A merchant delegate from the Cathari sector stormed into the council chamber. Our ships are refusing to jump, he shouted. Human navigation keys are locked. Another followed. Pirate signals are increasing. Human suppression fields are offline. Screens lit up with red warnings. Systems that had quietly relied on human oversight for decades were now exposed. Still, there was no aggression from humanity. No demands. No message. That silence made everything worse. Lyra was summoned back to the council chamber. As she entered, she felt dozens of eyes turn toward her. Not with respect, with fear. A tall avian delegate spoke first. Princess Lyra, you were the last to interact with the human representative. Explain his withdrawal. Lyra lifted her chin. He was disrespectful in his posture. I questioned his role. Murmurs spread. A heavy-scaled warlord leaned forward. You insulted him. I spoke honestly, Lyra replied. If humans are offended so easily, Soren stepped in quickly. This is not about offense. It is about balance. Another alert interrupted them. Confirmed attack, a station officer announced. Outlying colony Helios 9 is under assault. Unknown fleet. Minimal defenses. Lyra froze. Helios 9 is under Alliance protection. It was, the officer said carefully. Human assets covered that region. The council erupted into panic. Send aid. Activate defense packs. Call the humans back. Soren raised his voice. They cannot be called. Lyra felt heat rush to her face. Then what do we do? The officer hesitated. Without human intervention, response time will be too slow. Images from Helios 9 appeared on the screen. Small civilian stations. Panic signals. Weak shields failing. Lyra's breath caught. This was real. Lives were at risk. Because of her, she stood abruptly. Prepare my transport. Soren turned in shock. Princess? I will speak to him, Lyra said. This cannot continue. Soren's eyes softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. If you go not as royalty demanding obedience. She swallowed. Then as what? As someone seeking understanding. Hours later, Lyra's ship left Celestara Station, traveling toward a quiet human outpost far from political space. It was not guarded by grand fleets. No shining towers, just metal structures, functional and scarred, orbiting a lonely star. As her ship approached, human defense arrays tracked her silently, but did not block her. That alone unsettled her. Inside the outpost, life moved with calm purpose. Humans walked corridors, carrying tools, data slates, supplies. No panic, no anger, just focus. Lyra noticed something else. No one bowed, no one stared. They acknowledged her presence, then continued their work. She was led to a simple observation deck. Ethan Hale stood there, hands resting on a railing, watching the stars. He did not turn when she entered. For a moment, Lyra considered speaking sharply, asserting control. But the image of Helios 9 burned in her mind. She stopped a few steps away. I came to ask why you left, she said. Ethan remained silent. She clenched her fists. Because of my words? Finally, he spoke, voice calm and steady. Because of choice. She frowned. I do not understand. He turned slowly to face her. His expression was neutral, not cold. You saw me as less, he said simply, and spoke so others would see me that way too. Lyra hesitated. I was raised to believe hierarchy matters. So were we, Ethan replied. We learned what happens when it's abused. She looked away. You endangered civilians by leaving. No, he said gently. Humanity stopped preventing consequences. Her eyes snapped back to him. That sounds cruel. It is restraint, he answered. We do not rule the galaxy. We guard it only when welcomed. Lyra's voice shook slightly. Helios 9 is burning. Ethan nodded. I know. Then help them. Why? He asked. The question struck harder than any insult. She searched for an answer that felt honest. Because they cannot defend themselves. Ethan studied her. That was true yesterday too. Lyra swallowed. Because I was wrong. Silence filled the deck. Finally, Ethan spoke again. Humans step in when respect exists, not fear, not pride. Lyra took a slow breath and did something she had never done before. She bowed. Not deeply, not perfectly, but sincerely. I judged you, she said, and through you, your people. I ask forgiveness not as a princess, but as someone who failed. Around them, human crew members paused, quietly, watching. Ethan's expression softened, but his voice remained firm. Forgiveness is not permission, he said. It is a beginning. Alarms echoed softly through the outpost. Enemy fleet escalating at Helios 9, an officer reported. Civilians trapped. Ethan looked past Lyra, toward the stars. Then he made a choice. Prepare a limited response, he ordered. Evacuation priority only. Lyra's eyes widened. You will help? We will protect lives, he said, not reputations. Human ships launched swiftly, clean, precise movements. No dramatic speeches, no banners, just action. On the screens, Lyra watched as human vessels arrived at Helios 9, forming a shield, drawing fire away from civilians. They did not pursue the attackers far. They held the line, saved who they could, and then stopped. The enemy fleet retreated, confused and damaged, but not destroyed. Lyra turned to Ethan. You could have ended them. Yes, he agreed. But that is not today's lesson. Noter. Text. She felt shame and understanding mix inside her. As the outpost settled back into calm, Ethan faced her once more. Humanity has not returned to the Alliance, he said. Today was mercy, not membership. Lyra nodded slowly. I will earn it, she said. Ethan met her gaze. Then learn this, princess. She waited. When a human walks away in silence, it is because they are deciding whether the future is worth saving. Lyra watched the stars with new eyes. For the first time, she feared losing humanity's presence more than their power. End of Part 2. The stars around the human outpost were calm again. But the calm felt thin, like glass stretched too far. Princess Lyra stood beside Ethan Hale on the observation deck, watching the last evacuation ships from Helios 9 disappear into safe jump lanes. The human vessels held position for several minutes longer, then withdrew in perfect order. No cheers, no celebrations, only silence. Lyra finally spoke. They will try again. Ethan nodded. Yes, you let them leave, she said. They will see it as weakness. They will see it as uncertainty, Ethan replied. Uncertainty makes reckless leaders reveal themselves. Lyra did not fully understand, but she felt the weight behind his words. Humans did not rush. They waited. And somehow, that waiting felt more dangerous than force. A chime sounded. A human officer approached. Calm but focused. Warden Hale. Long-range sensors confirm coordinated movement. Multiple factions. Not pirates. Ethan's eyes sharpened. A test. Yes, the officer said. They are watching how far we will go. Lyra's chest tightened. They are using civilians to measure you. They always do. Ethan answered quietly. The officer hesitated, then glanced at Lyra. The Alliance Council is transmitting emergency requests. They want immediate, full intervention. Lyra flinched. They are afraid. They should be, Ethan said. Fear clarifies. He turned away from the stars. But fear alone does not earn protection. Lyra followed him into the command chamber. It was nothing like the grand hall she was used to. No gold. No raised thrones. Just workstations, maps, and humans moving with steady purpose. She noticed something important. No one shouted. No one panicked. Orders were short, clear, calm. On a central display, red markers began to appear across several systems. Trade lanes, border worlds, neutral zones. This is bigger than Helios 9, Lyra whispered. Yes, Ethan said. They are coordinated. A senior strategist stepped forward. They believe humanity will either fully return or fully withdraw. They are forcing a decision. Lyra turned to Ethan. What will you choose? Ethan did not answer immediately. He studied the map, then looked at the humans around him. Engineers, pilots, analysts, people who trusted him without ceremony. We will show them the line, he said at last. And what happens when it is crossed? Lyra felt a chill. What line? She asked. Ethan looked at her. The line between mercy and permission. Human ships did not rush out in massive fleets. Instead, small groups deployed to key locations. Not to attack, but to stand. They positioned themselves between hostile forces and civilian space. Silent. Still, the hostile fleets hesitated. Lyra watched the feeds closely. They are confused. They expected noise. Ethan replied. Humans are quiet when we are serious. Minutes passed. Then the first shot came. A hostile cruiser fired into a human defensive formation. The human ships did not retreat. They did not answer immediately. The second shot came, stronger. Ethan raised a hand. Now, the human response was sudden and precise. Not chaotic. Not overwhelming. Targeted. Weapons disabled. Engines shut down. Command ships isolated. Within minutes, the attacking cruiser drifted powerless. Across multiple systems, the same pattern repeated. Human forces struck only what threatened civilians. Nothing more. Lyra's breath caught. You are dismantling them without destroying them. Yes, Ethan said. They need to understand control. On the main screen, a new signal appeared. A large fleet, different markings, ancient designs. The room grew still. A strategist spoke carefully. That fleet predates the current alliance. Lyra's eyes widened. An elder war faction. They believed humanity was soft. The strategist continued. They waited. Lyra turned to Ethan. This is my fault. Ethan looked at her. This is history. The elder fleet advanced without warning, ignoring human hails. Their weapons charged. This is not a test, an officer said. They mean conquest. Ethan's voice hardened. Evacuate all civilian zones. Full defense authorization. Lyra's heart pounded. You said humanity would not dominate. We won't, Ethan replied. We will end this. The human fleets shifted. This time, there was no hesitation. No mercy. The battle unfolded faster than Lyra could follow. Human ships moved as one mind. They did not chase. They did not scatter. They surrounded. Energy fields locked the elder fleet in place. Precision strikes removed command nodes. The attackers fired wildly, but their shots were intercepted or redirected. Within moments, the elder fleet was neutralized, not destroyed, stopped. A transmission opened automatically. An alien commander appeared on screen, shaken. You could have wiped us out. Yes, Ethan said. We chose not to. Why? The commander demanded. Ethan leaned forward slightly. Because conquest teaches nothing. Survival does. The transmission ended. Silence filled the command chamber again. Lyra realized her hands were shaking. She turned to Ethan. The galaxy will talk about this. They already are, he said. Another officer approached. Alliance Council requests immediate address. Full assembly. Lyra stiffened. They want answers. They will get boundaries, Ethan replied. The council chamber was filled when the transmission opened. Faces from every major species appeared. Fear. Relief. Confusion. Lyra stood beside Ethan. But this time, she did not feel above him. She felt responsible. A council elder spoke. Humanity acted without alliance authorization. Ethan nodded. Yes. You dismantled fleets across multiple systems. Yes. You could destabilize the balance of power. Ethan's gaze was steady. The balance was already broken. Another voice cut in. You withdrew protection, then returned with force. Ethan replied calmly. We withdrew consent, then protected lives. Lyra stepped forward. Every eye turned to her. I caused this, she said clearly. My words revealed ignorance. Humanity responded not with anger, but restraint. We ignored the warning. Murmurs spread. She continued, voice steady despite her fear. Humanity did not abandon us. We abandoned respect. And when we asked again properly, they answered. A council member scoffed. You speak as if humans decide our fate. No, Lyra said. They decide their own. Ethan placed a hand lightly on the console. Humanity will not rule the galaxy, he said. But we will not be used as a shield for arrogance. The chamber fell quiet. What do you want? An elder finally asked. Ethan answered without hesitation. Equality in action, shared responsibility, clear consequences. And if we refuse? Another asked. Ethan did not raise his voice. Then we walk away again. That silence was heavier than any threat. Lyra understood now. Walking away was not weakness. It was choice. After the transmission ended, Lyra found herself alone with Ethan again. "You could have demanded anything," she said. He shook his head. "Demand creates resentment." She looked down. "I do not deserve your trust. You are earning understanding," he replied. "That is harder." She met his gaze. "Teach me." Ethan studied her for a long moment. "Then learn this," he said. "Human strength is not in what we can do." She waited. "It is in what we refuse to become." Lyra felt something shift inside her. Not fear, not pride, purpose. Far across the galaxy, news spread fast. Of human restraint, of human limits, of fleets stopped without conquest, and of a young alien princess who stood beside a human not as royalty, but as witness. End of Part 3. The galaxy held its breath. After the decisive stand at Helios 9 and the Elder Fleet's retreat, systems that once whispered distrust now buzzed with cautious admiration. Across distant worlds, the stories were simple, yet powerful. Humans do not act rashly. They do not act cruelly, but when action comes, it carries meaning, precision, and consequence. Princess Lyra stood on the observation deck of the human outpost, the weight of weeks pressing down on her. She had seen the calm efficiency, the quiet courage, the disciplined restraint of humans, and she had begun to understand a truth that no title, no palace, no ceremony could teach. Humanity was exceptional, not for its weapons or numbers, but for its choices. Ethan Hale approached silently. He had spent the last cycles coordinating repairs, sending aid, and securing civilians. He had not sought praise. He had not spoken of his actions to anyone but Lyra. He was the same man who had walked away in silence weeks ago, yet now, his presence carried an authority no crown could rival. "You have grown," Ethan said softly, noticing Lyra's thoughtful expression. "Not in power, but in understanding." Lyra met his gaze. "I have seen how humans live, how humans protect. I have seen restraint, even when anger is justified. I have seen mercy, even when victory is near." She paused. "And I have realized how little I knew." Ethan studied her carefully. "Understanding is the first step. Action is the second." "Then I wish to act," Lyra said firmly. "I wish to help ensure that our worlds never underestimate your people again." Ethan nodded once, approvingly. "Then you must first learn humility. Leadership without it is chaos." The outpost's communication system buzzed urgently. Lyra and Ethan moved to the command center, where officers had gathered around holoscreens. Reports poured in from the outer colonies. Traders returning safely, pirate attempts repelled without casualties, and fleets of other species adjusting their courses to avoid conflict zones. The galaxy was responding not to fear but to the demonstration of careful strength. A senior strategist turned to Lyra. "Princess, your public apology and acknowledgement of the human's role. It is unprecedented. Few royal figures would admit error so openly." Lyra glanced at Ethan. "It was not for recognition. It was for truth." The strategist nodded. "Truth has power, Princess. The galaxy listens when truth is spoken. And now, humans have shown that they will enforce it." Lyra's thoughts drifted to Helios 9. She remembered the panic, the helplessness of the colonists, and the calm precision of human response. They did not kill recklessly. They did not chase vengeance. They acted only to protect. That was what made them formidable, and what had made her previous words so dangerous. Ethan's voice cut through her reflections. "There is more to be done. The Alliance Council will convene soon. They will expect a report, and they will want to define boundaries without fully understanding them." Lyra's brow furrowed. "And what will you do?" "I will act as humans always act," Ethan replied. "With clarity, with restraint, and with expectation. We do not conquer. We do not bow to anyone. Nor do we ask for obeisance. But we do not stand idle when lives are at risk." The council chamber, filled later that cycle, streamed holographically to every major system in the Alliance. Lyra stood beside Ethan. no longer as a princess merely seeking protection, but as a witness to humanity's philosophy. Every eye was on them. Whispers ran through the assembly. Humans were known for bravery, but few had ever seen this combination of precision, mercy, and authority. An elder Varelian delegate leaned forward, voice trembling slightly. "Warden Hale, your intervention, it was remarkable. But the Alliance requires governance. You cannot act independently. Forever." Ethan's eyes swept across the chamber, calm and unwavering. "The Alliance will govern itself. Humans will not interfere unless lives are endangered. We act when others fail, or when innocent lives are at stake. That is our choice. That is our line." A murmur ran through the chamber. The message was clear. Humans could be relied upon, but only with respect, only with truth, and only when their decision to act was acknowledged. Lyra stepped forward. Her voice rang clear, carrying the weight of her position and her newfound understanding. "I stand here not only as a princess of Varelian, but as someone who has witnessed the patience, the discipline, and the wisdom of humanity. I admit my error. I misjudged their silence as weakness. I misjudged their restraint as inaction. Today, the truth is clear. Humans are strongest not when they speak, but when they choose to act. And when they walk away in silence, it is because they are measuring the value of what is at stake." The chamber fell into stunned silence. The clarity of her words, paired with the calm authority of Ethan's presence, forced every delegate to consider their own assumptions. A Traskian delegate, proud and sharp-tongued, finally spoke. "Are you suggesting that humans define the terms of our actions?" Ethan's gaze met the delegate's. "No, we define our own actions. Others define theirs. Respect, restraint, and understanding are universal currencies. Treat us with truth, and we respond. Treat us with arrogance, and we withdraw. That is all." For the first time, Lyra felt the subtle shift in the room. The galaxy was learning what she had learned firsthand. Strength was not in titles or weapons alone, it was in choice, in restraint, in moral courage. Outside the chamber, systems across multiple sectors realigned. Fleets returned to their posts, but with new caution. Trade lanes reopened, borders stabilized, and civilizations adjusted not from fear, but from recognition. The galaxy understood that humanity's silence was never empty. It carried weight. It carried consequence. Lyra returned to the observation deck later, alone with Ethan. She looked out at the stars, feeling smaller yet stronger. She had seen power, and she had seen mercy. She had seen the consequences of arrogance and the grace of restraint. "You could have demanded loyalty, obedience, or fear," she said quietly. "Instead, you acted to save lives." Ethan remained silent for a moment. Then he said, "We do not seek fear or obedience. We seek to protect and to preserve the choice of all. That is what makes us formidable. That is what makes us human." Lyra nodded slowly. She realized she no longer saw him merely as a protector, a warden, or a symbol of human strength. She saw him as a standard, a benchmark for courage, discipline, and moral clarity. The stars stretched endlessly before them, calm and indifferent, yet alive with potential. Lyra felt a quiet resolve settle in her chest. She would never forget the lessons she had learned. Respect was earned. Restraint was power, and silence could speak louder than any command. Hours later, a message arrived from the Alliance Council. It was concise, almost understated. The galaxy recognizes the action of the humans. Boundaries are acknowledged. No further interference will be pursued without prior consultation. Lyra read the message aloud to Ethan. He nodded. No celebration. No fanfare. Only acknowledgement. Finally, Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. Humanity has not returned to dominate. It has returned to define the line between action and inaction, mercy and destruction. arrogance, and respect. Ethan looked at her, a hint of approval in his eyes. You have learned well, princess. Remember, strength is not only in what you can do, it is in what you choose not to do. The outpost returned to routine. Life moved with calm determination. Repairs were made. Civilians resettled. Systems resumed normal operations. And somewhere far across the galaxy, whispers of humanity's restraint and power spread like wildfire. For the first time in her life, Lyra did not feel the weight of a crown. She did not feel the need to prove herself to anyone. She understood that the galaxy's future was not written by arrogance or titles but by courage, choice, and moral clarity. She looked at Ethan, standing quietly beside her. The galaxy will remember this, will it not? He nodded. They already have. And they will remember that humanity does not act recklessly. We act when it matters most. Lyra's eyes met his. A newfound respect, deepening with understanding. I will not forget. And I will make sure my people do not forget either. Ethan allowed a small, rare smile. Not for himself, not for glory, but because he knew the lesson had been understood. The stars were endless, the galaxy vast. And yet, humanity had shown its presence not with arrogance, but with choice. That choice would shape alliances, decisions, and civilizations for cycles to come. And Princess Lyra, once proud and unaware, now stood wiser. She had witnessed the true power of humanity, not in conquest, but in the decision to act with justice, restraint, and courage. The galaxy had changed, not because humans ruled it, but because humans walked through it with purpose, silence, and unyielding moral strength. End of Part 4.